This is a code walkthrough for the example file SelectionIfElseIf.java. So we'll open it up here and take a look. This example demonstrates the usage of the if-else-if construct in selection logic. What we're doing here is we're prompting for an age using a readInt method of this utility file that we're going to be building, and then we're taking that age and running it through a series of stacked nested comparisons. We're going to keep checking all of these conditions until we find one that matches the condition. We're going to set an age-appropriate message, and then after we're done, we're going to just print out that message. So as always, let's start by compiling this file. And we'll set a breakpoint on main as we always do, and let's single step through this a couple times and see what's going on. So here we're prompting for an age, and let's put in a very young age to start with. Okay, our age is 10. So we're going to get to this first condition, and this is satisfied. So we're going to set the message to just a kid, and the next statement that executes is going to be the print of this message. Notice that once this first condition is satisfied, we don't bother to check all these other ones. We jump to the end of the if-else-if structure and go to the statements which follow it, and we print out a kid-specific message. So far so good. So let's run this again. Now that kind of represents the best case. Let's put in a sort of a worst case data input. Let's put in a very elderly age. Let's say it's 80, and this time we're going to go through all of these conditions until we find something. So is 80 less than 13? No. Otherwise, is age less than 18? No. Less than 30? No. Less than 50? No. Less than 70? No. So now we get to the default condition, and we set a golden years message and print it out. So notice the two extremes. This kind of represents the best case, where we find the matching condition on the first try. This sort of represents the worst case, where we have to go through and check every single condition in sequence until we get to the default. So if speed or performance is a factor, you might want to put the most likely outcomes toward the top of this list so that there's less chance of having to traverse all of these conditions. Another thing to point out is that notice that this else if is two separate words. There should always be a space between the else and the if. Other programming languages or shell programming languages have an else if keyword, but that's not the case here in Java. So make sure to always have that space in there. And notice one other thing. When we go through this logic, notice that in this first case, in the second case here rather, we didn't have to have a compound condition checking whether age was less than 13 in addition to this one. By making this check here, we've already sliced off all possible ages less than 13. So now we're just checking for the ages of 13 through 17 with this test. Similarly for this one, we don't need to check that the age is 18 or greater. We already know that because it already failed this case. So each of these preceding cases slices off a band of ages from consideration. So I'll go ahead and finish running this. Let me take off this breakpoint, and let's run through this just a couple of times directly. How about a teenager, let's say 17, and college student, let's put in a 29. Make sure that all these cases are working. A homeowner, let's put in 45. We get to this case. Let's put in a 65. We should get to the 401k message, and as before, somebody older than 70 or 70 included actually will get a golden years message. Okay, so this is how the if-else-if construct works, and how it should be laid out in your code. It's pretty straightforward.